So Tom Davenport has some shoes to fill as he interviews Debbie and Carmela from Jack Nadel International. It's international, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Offices in.
Offices in.
London, Australia, US.
The offices are global. So if you guys don't know who Jack Nadel is, it's probably the biggest promotional products distributor in the world. And they are kind of like the kings of that world. So if you guys are dabbling in promotional products yourself, which maybe you should because you have the customers that are buying promotional products such as t-shirts, you can probably also sell them pins and notebooks and all of those types of products too. But Tom is going to come up here and have a little Q&A session with Debbie and Carmela. So come on, come to the stage. Come join us.
Yeah?
Yeah, that's good.
It's on too.
Thank you so much for being here, and how's Chicago been for you this last couple of days?
We love Chicago.
Yeah, I think it's a good city. So,
Definitely.
so for those in the audience that maybe don't know what the promotional industry is all about, I want to start off with introductions. First off, what is the promotional products industry? Who is Jack Nadel? And how did you both get started in the industry?
First I want to say this is like my first live meeting in 2 years, so it's kind of nice to see like humans right in front of us. So it's going to take like a little shy, so let me get this going, should I have some notes. So basically promotional products is taking a company's logo or message and putting it on a product. It's as simple as that, and it's really working with a lot of marketing departments, communication, HR departments. You all probably have like small businesses that come to you to get that message across. It's a marketing vehicle. I started at J&I. J&I's been around for about 65 years, and I was really excited to be here because we love our decorators. And just a little history about J&I. We started a little over 65 years ago by one brother who brought in his other brother. And I was telling Tom earlier today that our founder did not go to college and was just really like scrappy. And he just got things done. Started off small, started out in Southern California. We are now a global company. We have sales over 165 million a year. And we just have a lot of fun, flat organization, a lot of mavericks in the company, and we've just been able to scale through the years.
So Jack was obviously an entrepreneur, and the spirit kind of lives on in the company today.
Yeah, Carmela reminded me of an interesting story back in the, back in the late 40s. He is a veteran. He was in the Air Force, and there was a shortage with the U.S. Army with T-shirts. So, like one of his first, what got him into the industry was getting these T-shirts. Blank white T-shirts and dyeing them green. So it was just being very innovative at the time. This is like early 50s, around the time of the Korean War. So it was just very innovative.
And Jack's nephew, Craig, is the president of the company, so it still is very much a family company.
Right, we've only had 3 presidents in our 60-year history. The second president was Craig's father.
So how did you both get started in the industry?
Yeah, I mean, my route to this industry is kind of unusual. I mean, it's this kind of under the radar space. I actually, I graduated from college. I had an econ degree, and so it seemed like the smart thing to do to start in corporate America. So I started Corporate Gap as an analyst, and my parents were thrilled, right? I hit the mother lode. I had benefits, I had stock options, and yet for 2 years, I just felt like a spoke in this huge wheel. And I really didn't have that entrepreneurial spirit that like Jack had and that hustle that all of you had. And I wanted to do more than just that one lane that I was in. And so I threw out my resume, and this one company interviewed me, Shea Hammond. really small, tiny organization, all women. And they raised me in their likeness. And it wasn't until later that I realized I was in sales. I thought I was just working with clients, helping them deliver an experience to an event. And that experience just happened to be a t-shirt, or some kind of branded item. But we really infused it with so much more. And that ethos really stuck with me. And I think that's really been the winning formula, is that what we all do day in and day out has a life much bigger than just a screen print on a t-shirt. And it's been a fun ride. It's been 20 years, it's a fun ride.
Debbie?
I fell into it by accident. I also came out of corporate America, very structured organization, and I took a temp job at J&I. I had become a single mom. I was like, I'm gonna just work in this company for like 6 months and then go find a real job. And it was just craziness.
Why a real job? Why did you not see it as a real job?
Just because it was smaller, I didn't think there would be growth. Like I had been fed, like Carmela, this corporate route to go, and I was really kind of stifled in corporate America. And when I got to J&I just saw like all these mavericks, like thinkers, people that were thinking. It wasn't so structured. It wasn't like, you could just do things. You could make things happen, and you could make things happen quickly. And I remember just like sitting there, and I was like my head would spin, it's product, but it was fun, and it kind of. I know it's serious, but it's not that serious in the big scheme of things. I mean, literally, I tell everybody, people will cry. I mean, I was working in healthcare. I did not see the passion over a surgery that I see over item not making the delivery date. Like literally, everybody was gone at 5 at the other job, and here it's like people are like working late. There's this community, there's this feeling, and there's like tears, and it's like, and I kind of love it. I love that people are so passionate and involved, and they really get into it. So I was just like, is it bad that like we're like all a little dysfunctional? That we
I think everyone in this room can relate to that.
Yeah, and it was just, there were so many thinkers. It was just like, it was kind of like people would just figure out how to get things done, and that was just so interesting.
Well, this is a perfect lead into the topic that I really want to cover today, which is company culture. And in full disclosure, Carmela and Debbie and I have all sort of worked together for about 15 years. 2006 is when I became a partner with Jack Nadel vendor. And so we did a lot of decoration projects for you. And we can talk a little bit about that. But one of the things that has always stood out to me about Jack Nadel is this really vibrant company culture, very entrepreneurial. It's definitely kind of like a work hard, play hard type of thing. People are exuberant. And above all, there's this real team mentality for a large sized group, and total dedication to the company. So the question is, how intentional was that? Did that just develop organically, or is that something that's been sort of nurtured and crafted over the years?
We've had, I always say that anything that could happen to a company has happened to us over the last 60 years. We were manufacturers, we tried a bunch of different things, but I think the most important thing is investing in your people. Even if you're 2-person, 4-person, if everyone doesn't believe in the dream or in the mission, if everyone's not on board, you gotta let them go. Because we've had, even like with some of our smaller offices where it's 4 or 5 people, one person can just kill it. And do you know what I mean? You've got to make those decisions. So that's intentional, the people we bring on board. We're not for everybody. Hired people, we go so fast that they can't handle it. And it's kind of like we cancel them out because they're not right. They'll find a place that there's a place for everybody in this world. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? And, you should love it. You should come in and you should embrace the madness. So that is completely intentional, is our people. Number one, the people, get your people straight, have shared, make sure everyone's on that same, we're all in the car driving in the same direction. We're not confused about where we're going. And then be transparent. When things are tough, let people know, this is what it is. And, I was telling Carmela, there's been 2 times that I've been there in 20 years that I've had to take pay cuts. The first time was the recession. And that, but people that were there took the pay cut, they dealt with it, and we kind of worked, and we had our best years ever afterwards. And when COVID hit, I think we only had to lay off one person, but we all kind of, for like 3 or 4 months, all took pay cuts. But, we have to embrace it. You have to have people that believe in it and believe that you're gonna come out on the other side. And leadership, your leaders, invest in them, because if they're not happy and then they have a team, it's not good. You've got to make sure that everyone is on this, if they're not happy, like, also counsel them in or counsel them out. But, I've had many times where I've had to counsel people out successfully. I mean, we're not for everybody. And, so just basically know who you are and don't change. Just like, don't keep changing because you'll never get on that right lane.
And so some of the specific efforts that you make in developing your culture, can we talk, what is Tiger?
So Tiger, that started in the late 60s, 70s. It's basically our president's club. So at that time, the company was doing a lot better. We were probably, we started growing. So we're probably like 5 million at that time. And we started losing some of our salespeople. And so our second president decided, outside of money, what else could you do to build a community? And that's where Tiger is a reward trip for top salespeople and also for top employees if they win Employee of the Year. And then Carmela can add a little bit more of what it means.
Yeah, Tiger, Tom talked about, we have this really celebratory culture. We're very entrepreneurial. I think one thing, that I was going to say is, I think it was Brett that talked about the fact we're global. But what's really special is that we're so many different individuals who are allowed to flourish. I personally have a small team. We run some pretty big brands. And, what we try to do is we bring people in, we train them in the process. One of the large programs I run is for Tesla, for all their uniforms. So whether it's the Gigafactory or the factory in Fremont, it has to have a really tight process for it to work every single time. So you create the process, but then you allow the individual to flourish. And you allow that person to take the ball and move your business forward and allow the growth to happen. And a lot of the sort of mentoring and training and the magic all happens internally. And, a lot of the celebration that happens at these Tiger weekends where we're recognizing top performers, these are people that we're not competing against. These are people who have invested in each other. My team, we've all invested in each other. I reach out to other top producers. They've invested in me. We're always looking for ways to level up. And even though we're spanned across the globe, we still are cheering for individual success. And, I think about right now, I think a big problem is labor shortage and retention. And, this isn't a JOB for us. We come in and we own that particular part of our business. So with my Tesla program, at some point I cut over, and after my teammate had mastered the program, I told her, forget everything that I ever taught you, and now the inner workings and all the shortcomings, rebuild it. And she rebuilt it in a way that I could never have imagined. She built out a supply chain of decorators across the country, shortened freight costs, shortened delivery times. And now, instead of it just being her running my program, this is her program, this is her success. And she created growth and camaraderie, and she comes in to work energized. And that's the celebratory spirit we all feel when we go to Tiger, is we're recognizing each individual's talents and ability to move the ball forward. And it's special. I know it doesn't happen at other companies because I've seen them. But I think that element of being a large company but being an individual and being honored for everything you bring is really special.
And another event that you do, a little bit different, but it's a way to bring your team together to reward people, but also it's an investment in your people, is an event called Nadel U. And I think probably some of the people in this room have participated in that. Can you talk about that?
Yeah, so I want to make another important point as well. As we were scaling, I was telling Carmela, our CFO at the time, would always tell me every event had to be revenue neutral. So basically it could be no cost. So, we understand the challenges of smaller businesses, and getting really crafty, and that, getting really crafty and putting something together. And sometimes, even like I was gonna just add for Tiger, it doesn't have to be like a big location. We're in LA, we were like in Palm Springs. People brought their families, it's like one night where you're really bonding, and that's what you want. You want people to bond to the company. So for Nadel, the way that came about is our president had passed away suddenly at the time, and his son became president. And we were a little nervous because it's very aggressive. Recruiting is very aggressive. So the word goes out, and all of a sudden people are after our salespeople, right? And we were like, okay, how do we keep it? How do we make sure that we keep people with the company? We're like, okay, let's do a Nadel U, a 3-day, 2-night event, and bring everybody in together, and again, reiterate our culture. And it's really about having everyone come together, presenters. We have a lot of our partners, and we also work with our partners. We don't want any of our partners, we don't want like a canned presentation, because we know that they go out, like Bella's a sponsor here. I know they go out and they do presentations all day long, so we always spend time for them to understand who our people are. So it's crafted to how we want to go to market, so we can stand out. So we're very careful with what vendors we invite, and then also with our internal, and you could probably speak to this, our internal people that present as well.
Yeah, I mean, I remember when Craig approached us, I was part of the inaugural team that created this whole concept of Nadel U, of sales education. And, at the time, we had money, and there was talk about, why don't we hire talent, bring in outside voices, and really level up. And I really applaud Debbie. I mean, she really fought against that because she felt like our best talent was in the room. And what I love about that is it's true, we do have incredible talent, but it creates and fosters this spirit of mentoring, that I can go to you and I can learn something from you. And when I leave that event, I can go back to you and you're gonna help me. It creates an unbreakable bond between, people who may not even see each other every day. And I thought that was really remarkable. And to this day, I think it's a thread that runs through our culture, this spirit of giving, because we've received. A lot of the tools that I've used to level up my business and get to this point in my career, I've gleaned them from my peers. We just had Tiger Weekend in Palm Springs. It was very intimate coming out of COVID. And we invited back Shelley Cheshire. She's a legacy in our industry. She was one of the first women to break through a lot of sort of glass ceilings. And I remember, 20 years back being at my very first Tiger, and I was at Neophyte, and she got up at the podium and she spoke. And I remember that feeling of like, looking at Shelley, wanting to be like her. And fast forward now, she's retired, she's invited to our Tiger Weekend, and I felt like I'd climbed that mountain. And there were so many girls in that space that felt the same way. That we have mentors that have invested in us, and now we're investing in that next generation, that Gen Z and the millennials coming up. And that spirit of giving is it's continual. It never ends, and I think it really feeds growth within an organization.
And we were talking about that earlier today, sort of the shaping of company culture. So as you're looking into the future, and one thing that I've definitely seen is that you have, not only do you have some really, really young, energetic people working in the company, but you also have some people that have been there for 30, 40, or even 50 years, you told me. You have one person who's actually been with the company for 50 years. That's a valuable asset to have, these people who can truly mentor the younger people. As we move forward, do you really leverage that? And is that something that is it just kind of part of the company culture, or do you actually consciously make those decisions to inspire leadership?
We do. It's a conscious decision to do that. Do you want to?
Yeah, I was going to say, ageism is real. I think Facebook created this culture of, you look at the Mark Zuckerbergs of the world and these next generation of billionaires who are so inspiring, and a lot of the great ideas are coming from that young pool, right? But what I love about J&I's as I grew up in this organization and this industry is there is so much to learn from the people that came before you, and there's so much to be inspired from by the people entering. And I think we do a really good job of honoring what each of us brings to the table. And talk about, creating a culture within your organizations. Walking into an office every single day knowing that you matter and that your voice counts and that you bring impact. That gets me so excited. The fact that I have a small team of women, but they are all so pumped to come in the office and crush it every day. I don't know how they get that energy, but we all feel it. We all have our individual contribution. And I think J&I recognizes everyone at different stages in their career that we all play a vital role. And that's a really...
I was gonna add, they also have, they come in, and then they see people that are still excited about doing work after 20 or 30 years, and then they can see what their life is going to look like. And they want that. They look at, and again, it's important. Who do you hire in? Those are our advocates, the people that have stayed, have built their careers. They can see now what can happen in the future. They can see, building a life, building a career, and they see that they can do it. So it's and we kind of mix it up. We give them mentors. Also, we match them up. We invest a lot in new people, and that's why to me it's like adopting a child. I always say, like, we bring you on board, like, I know that you're gonna exhaust me. Like, even sometimes, I don't know, you know what I mean? Because it's like, you gotta kind of take care of them. We have to invest in their growth as well. You have to make sure you have the time to put into them. Again, people, it's very rewarding, but it's very time consuming.
So shifting to our next topic, partners, and I'll start specifically with on the supply side. What is the difference between a vendor and a partner to you?
It's a connection. Me personally, I love passion. Like with you, when we start, I love working with companies that believe in what they're doing. I love watching them grow. I mean, we've worked with, they even did a road trip once with three, I think they were in their 20s, they're now in their 30s. But we just we're just talking about, business and what we can do. And it doesn't matter age or everything, it doesn't matter, it's just the passion for the business and where you can go. And then also scaling, really having a plan, it's just the commitment also. It's really important to me that anybody, we have about 140 preferred partners across all categories, and 85% of our spend goes to them. That's huge. So we can actually drive spend, and it's I loved working with you because I knew that if I sent anyone to you, I knew that you were very direct in setting boundaries. Don't try to do everything, Yeah, even when I talk to them sometimes, I'm like, you guys, you can't ask someone to do that. Yeah. So it's sometimes I'm even surprised, know what you can do, know your capabilities, and be able to keep them in mind. A lot of these people don't know anything about manufacturing. I'm just telling Carmela, most people at our company don't have that knowledge. They're out doing sales and they're representing a bunch of different products. So I really depend on our factories to really, help, set the boundaries of what's possible so that we can have a good delivery. Yeah. And then I just like the communication. I think that's really important, and being very transparent. Everyone has problems. Every business will have a problem. Just be transparent. That's it. I mean, we put in a new ERP. We communicated to all of our vendors. We communicated to all of our clients. I mean, it was rough, but just keep communicating and don't hide. I mean, things happen. We've had to go back to clients where we've underbid a program, and we had to. For major, and this is 10 years. It's not 50 years ago. It still happens. Sometimes you look at something, you can't you cannot lose money. You just cannot sit and lose money, and you have to be transparent. And sometimes you make mistakes, And it's fine, and I find that a lot of clients are understanding. So that's really important.
Well, I mean, I know you do a ton of decorated apparel as a company, Carmela. I know you do as well. The relationship that you have with the decorators, it's a little bit different than it would be if you're just buying a product from the factory that stamps a logo on it. What are you looking for specifically in decorators? What your successful relationships? What style?
Yeah, I mean, I think that, writing on what Debbie was saying is, we need to know the vendors who can deliver that particular product. You all have different lanes, and there's real respect when a vendor stays in their lane. We're all here, I think, because there's, growth, right? We're looking for growth in our business, and that's good. But growth is aspirational, and you may not be at that point. You right now might be really good at one specific thing. And I think it's important to stay at that point until you've mastered it and can get yourself to the next level, because you could really derail a really great relationship. When Tom and I met, I love the fact that you weren't afraid of the hard work. You're a hustler. You were very inspired to push the needle, or push the envelope, and really get to a different level with your decoration techniques and adding on fulfillment or adding on stitched labels, things like that. But at the same token, I have for my Tesla program, that is down and dirty, one color, two location every day. And what I love about that maker is when I'm working on those larger orders, I never pick up the phone. I never say, Larry, are you going to be able to deliver this? He is in lockstep with me every step of the way, and I can count on him. I don't need anything special. I don't need the razzmatazz. I just need to count on him. Until he wants to do all those other things like fulfillment and whatnot, great. But until he's ready, let's just stick in our lane and we'll lock arms and we'll grow together. And I think that's important, is really recognizing your strengths and your assets until you're really ready to launch that next level of your business. And when you find a good partner like Jay and I, and when we find a good partner like yourselves, we want to grow together. We want to keep sending those purchase orders. And so I think stay in your lane and let's grow together.
Yeah, and keeping on the topic of partnerships, I know you also look at your clients as partners. And you just mentioned Tesla, one of the biggest companies in the world. How does that start? How does that relationship start with
Yeah, this is the part where Debbie, is kind of my boss. Should not hear it, but I've never done a cold call. I've never reached out to someone. I started the industry and I had two accounts, PeopleSoft and 3Com. You've probably never heard of them. 3Com made the original handheld Palm Pilot, and 3Com, or PeopleSoft, excuse me, they're gone. But from those companies spawned all of these people, connections that I just had this energy with, and they felt the passion and my excitement of delivering something special, and they stayed with me. Tesla, I did cold call. I remember reading about them in some local newspaper. This was in 2003. And they were an electric car company before I ever even really understood what electric cars were. I thought I would go back and I'd think about my brother and cousins when they were little and they built the car tracks and they had the little cars and the paddle, and then they pull back the paddle and zoom, and then it flies. And I thought, those boys all grew up and they're gonna want that car. And I got so excited, and we're in California, so climate change, right? And I called on that company, and the marketing manager felt my energy and my excitement, and she would push me. She loved working with me, and I loved working with her, and she'd want me to do not the basic t-shirt, she'd want me to do this speed form, a manufactured speed form, and I'd have to say no. I'd love to do it, but I can't do it, because the day I fail on that, I couldn't do this. She and I locked arms for a long time, and here I am, 10 years, 18 years later, still with Tesla. And it's been a really remarkable ride, but again, it goes back to all the ethos and beliefs that I have, which is stay in your lane, grow together, grow organically, and know your assets. And I think that's been the winning formula with Facebook or Instagram and Tesla. We've always grown together in the things that we're good at.
You could just sit there and be an order taker.
Sorry?
You could just sit there and be an order taker and go nowhere.
I know, but what's the fun of that, right? I mean, they pay the bills, don't get me wrong. I think, the Tesla orders, they're not always inspiring because they're uniforms. But I don't find those as energizing. That's not what gets me out of bed. You know, Tom and I worked on this great order. I was really grateful for your leadership and guidance on this. It was for Discord. Do any of you use Discord? Yeah, it's like a platform. It's like a chat, you know, you can chat with a community. And we were doing this really sexy hoodie with, I don't know, 12, 14 different locations, patches, embroideries, custom laces, so many elements. And when I first saw the art, you know, it was so bodacious. And I came to Tom and we started talking about it. And the great thing about a client like Discord, you have to know your clients as much as you know your makers. You know, they're interested in my voice and they're interested in the perspective. And when that's the case, that's when you can fly. And I talked to Tom about it, and this huge logo on the back, it was an outline of their Discord logo, and they wanted to silk screen it. And I said, Tom, we gotta spruce this up. And so we talked about a chain stitch, a huge chain stitch. And luckily, Tom had just done this educational video on how to do it. It's chain stitch, Bella Canvas, and that was it. I showed it to my client, and they were done. And we did just this unbelievable product that went out to the top 5,600 influencers, and they all posted on their social media, you know, with the back, and they were pointing on the back, and it was sick. And you know, that's what gets me excited. And I look at this audience and I see how you wear your brands, and I can tell that's what gets you guys excited too, is that improvisation that happens that really, you know, gets you to the office the next day. So yeah, order takers, I'm good with it, pays the bills, but every once in a while we want to move things forward, right?
But when we talk about, you know, a client relationship that is 10 or really close to 20 years with Tesla and getting close to that, things go wrong, right? So how do you fix the mistakes, you know, from not you know, logistically, I'm saying, like, how do you keep the client, how do you keep their trust when something really goes wrong and maintain that relationship for decades?
Yeah, things go wrong. I mean, that's the reality. They don't just go wrong in our world, they go wrong in our clients' world too. But, you know, we've always fixed them. Tom, you reminded me about a project we did for Tesla early on where we stitched a custom label onto a sleeve and something wasn't right about it. And, you know, you get over the disappointment and you just fix it. You know, and that's what I'm talking about is, you know, there are vendors that you can lock arms with and you get through those mistakes through communication and honesty. You know, the essence of who you are and what you bring every single day is always there, despite the mistakes. You know, and I always tell my team that, you know, I can make little mistakes like logging onto a Zoom late, or, you know, sometimes we'll misdeliberate. But the quality of what we do and the authenticity of who we are with our clients, that's eternal, and that lasts much longer than the mistake. And the truth is, more than the mistake, we remember the solution and the partners that delivered us through the solution. And you know, that happened, Tom, like really early on, and here we are today still working on projects together.
Yeah.
You know, I have no problem with mistakes. I have problems when, you know, someone jumps ship and we're not able to really get to the
If I remember correctly, you and I both just went out to the Tesla headquarters the next day.
Yeah.
It was like, we're dealing with this right
Yeah.
now.
And then we went to the Tesla store,
Yeah,
right? And that was
great.
sick. Yeah, that was great.
I want to shift here and just talk about the future. And Carmela, you shared some really interesting perspectives on COVID. And I know we're all kind of like trying to put COVID behind us, but you talked about the positive outcome for you as an individual, for the company. Can you share that story with us?
Yeah. I mean, it's funny, I was telling Debbie before I came to this event, I didn't really have any nice masks. You guys are all wearing really nice masks. And so I went to retail and I got this really nice set, like microfiber 5-ply masks, 7 of them for $2.99. And I thought, God, that's a really good bellwether. You know, COVID is actually in our rearview mirror now. And you know, I was thinking about this event. I was thinking in general about the fact that all of you have taken time out of your business. I think, you know, 2010 to 2019, we saw a bumper crop of years, projects and orders and programs and budget. And we never really stopped and stood back and really looked at the business. We were so busy working in the business that we didn't work on the business and really invest in what were those next things that you need to layer into your business to get us through the next thing. And I even thought about, this project that we worked on a long time ago with Tesla, with Elon Musk and his designer. He wanted to send out, this was 2010 before they went IPO, he wanted to send out these custom gifts to all of the early Roadster owners. So guys, we're talking about George Clooney, Red Hot Chili Peppers singer. This was before privacy laws. I actually have all their addresses, and we created this incredible box, custom foam, limited edition gifts inside, and they went into the homes. That was in 2010. And it was only in the quiet moments of COVID where I stepped away from the business did I realize that he had planned my escape route out of this disaster where people weren't working in offices. That was like a huge part. I had a huge year last year because I pivoted and I started drop shipping gift kits into homes. I had that idea 10 years ago, but I could never stop because I was so busy working on the business. And so, to Printavo and Bella Canvas and everyone who sponsored this event, and to all of you who are here, I really applaud the pause that you're giving yourselves to think about what is this new landscape that we're emerging back into, and what do you need in your business to really crush it and figure out whatever comes next. The reality is if you're here, you made it, right? You've already invested well enough into your business, but now I love what Tom is doing and what all of you are doing. Let's start dreaming and be really aspirational about what the next 10 years are gonna look like for all of us. I think COVID, a lot of silver linings came out of COVID for us.
And I know, Debbie, you're working on a massive project right now, full company rebrand. Including the relocation of headquarters.
I was going to add to Carmela's real quick. The level, it used to be when I started, it was entry-level person at most companies would handle the branded merchandise, and especially with COVID, it's risen, and the POs have gotten larger, and a lot of CEOs. It's kind of crazy. Discovery is one of our account. And the CEO is very involved in the jackets, and so it's the level has risen, and so it's great. I love it. The budgets have risen. People are not just with sustainability and the environment, all of that. People want quality product, and they want a piece that will last. So I just want to throw that in there. So yes, we are undergoing, and I know people sign up. We are undergoing a rebrand. And it wasn't a making before. To me, once you brand, start thinking about your future. What are you going to look like? Don't just start changing your website and your collateral every 6 months. Really think about what you're going to look like for the next 3 to 5 years, and then start thinking about what are you going to look like again. So it's been a process. It's been years in the making.
Your last rebrand was?
Almost 10 years ago. And at that time, we were very, if you look at the colors now, we were very Nickelodeon. We had that blue and orange. Every time I look at it, I think SpongeBob, because we wanted to be fun, and this is who we wanted to be. And the industry has changed. There's a lot that has come into it. Sustainability, data protection. There's so much now. Technology, the way you deliver. And we want to lead. So our new brand, we're changing our name from, you don't need the international anymore. There was times where you needed to tell people you were global. People they don't care. You're just global. And it doesn't matter where you are, you can ship globally. So we're going to just be, I'll give you the name, it's going to be Nadel. Beginning January 1st, we're just going to be Nadel. It's really about collaboration, because that's what we do with our partners and with our clients. And it's really more of a very sophisticated, we're the leaders. You guys are the leaders. That's one thing. I think people are always intimidated by clients. I was telling, don't be intimidated. They don't know. We know. You should know. You should lead people. And that's really what the new brand is. It's about leading our clients, really leading them to what branded merchandise, how to get the most out of the product. So I'm super excited. We're on track for the beginning of the year. And at the same time, just by coincidence, we used to own our own building 10 years ago, then we leased a building, and we were trying to renew the lease, renegotiate, and the landlords, they were just giving us a hard time. So I told my boss, screw it, let's just go buy our own building. We could afford it, and at least we could own our future, and we could do what we want. So the new building, We closed escrow a couple weeks ago, we moved into it in August, and it's really going to reflect, just like an FYI, we do a lot of site visits, and we encourage clients to come see us. So make sure that your space, no matter how big it is, reflects who you are, and make sure it doesn't look chaotic. If I go visit a decorator or any factory, if it looks crazy, and even before anyone comes to us, I'll just tell them this real quick and I'll stop. We have a plan. I send out a notice, like, this person is coming, everyone cleans up. Like, we are aware, it's like guests. So that's it.
I think we're out of time for audience Q&A, unfortunately. But are you guys going to be here for the rest of the day?
Yeah, we're
So, yeah, if anybody has any questions for Debbie and Carmela, they'll be around today and get a chance to meet them. But I want to thank you again for being here.